have water in my cup, nothing fancy. I recently took a trip to Key West, and of course, I did not leave without seeing the former home and now museum, Hemingway. Of Hemingway. Oh, okay, let's start again. And last take. I recently took a trip. Okay, that one's. Why did I say it like that? Okay, I recently took a trip to Key West, and of course, I did not leave without seeing the former home of author Hemingway, now museum. It was beautiful, so beautiful. I didn't see too many cats though. I pictured seeing, so many more cats. If you know, then you're expected to see, I think it's like 60 or more cats in there, but I only saw one. Not kidding. So of course I saw the Hemingway home, and this most striking part of the tour was the studio where he would actually write. Let me show a photo really fast. Absolutely stunning. And it's gated, so nobody can actually walk inside, so I took the photo standing outside. If you've been, if you're going, this is the only spoiler I will show, because the studio was so neat. Oh my goodness. And I just stood there and I thought, wow, what a time to just type on your typewriter, and so magical, so peaceful, no distractions. And it got me thinking once again about the crisis that we're in this generation, right? So many people cannot focus and just take some time to read and comprehend what they are reading, because everything is so digital now. Now, I recently read an article. It's going to blow your mind. I couldn't believe it when I first saw the headline, so I read the article fully, and then I said, okay, I understand now. I believe this is true. This is now a crisis. There's a student who recently graduated high school without being able to read. Yes. This is the article if you want to read it during your free time. But that's just one of the many examples that we have of people today that just are having so much trouble reading and writing and comprehension. I recently have made it a goal for the past 4 years. For the past 4 years, to be more intentional with my reading and actually finish the books that I begin reading. Every year I have failed. So this year, 2026, I normally always do a social media break during the beginning and towards the end of the year. But this year, I think I will do the entire year without social media. Why? I simply want to read. So this is the current book I'm reading right now. I started reading this fall of 2024. It's long overdue. Okay, so it's by a Florida International University professor, Dr. Marvin Dunn, and it's Black History in Florida. I'm halfway through the book, and honestly, it has been so challenging to read this book because there's so many characters, and I find it more simple to write it down and say, okay, this was this person in this era, and this was a descendant of this person, and this person was the quote-unquote good guy, this person was the quote-unquote bad guy, and just connecting all the dots and making sure I understand what I'm reading. So that's why it's taken me so long. So I'm halfway through this book, but I definitely recommend. It's a history of Florida through Black eyes. And as I stood there looking at Hemingway's studio where he wrote many of his books, I said, so many people cannot do that today. Like, you cannot just sit in a room without any piece of technology, any screen, without any cell phone, any piece of technology, without, what's it called, the Apple Watch. You just can't do it. You can't go into a room and just focus, gather your thoughts, and write them down. You can't even, not even write, just read. You can't go into a room alone without any distractions and just read and understand and be present. It's such a challenge for today. So that's one of my biggest goals this year, is to read the books that I have. And yes, I got 2 new books when I was at Key West. I saw this beautiful bookstore, and apparently Hemingway used to read there, but not at this exact bookstore. They rebuilt a new one, but you know what I mean. So I'll show you the books I got in Key West. So I got, this is by Zacharias, I hope I'm saying that right, Ravi Zacharias, The Real Face of Atheism. Got this for $6. I'm excited to read this. I'm excited. If you know me, you know I love critical thinking, all the fallacies, the arguments. I love philosophy, topics of religion. I personally am Christian, so I am excited to read this. And then I also got one on an entirely different topic. This is New York Times bestseller, Evicted. Winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Poverty and Profit in the American City by Matthew Desmond. Got this one for $8. So it says Harvard sociologist and MacArthur genius Matthew Desmond follows 8 families in Milwaukee, as they each struggle to keep a roof over their heads. Hailed as wrenching and revelatory by The Nation, vivid and unsettling by New York Review of Books, Evicted transforms our understanding of poverty and economic exploitation while providing fresh ideas for solving one of 21st century's America's most devastating problems. Its unforgettable scenes of hope and loss remind us of the centrality of home, without which nothing else is possible. Evicted stands among the very best of the social justice books. But that's Ann Patouch, the author of Bel Canto and Commonwealth. Ooh, I'm excited for this one. So after I finish my Black History book, I will move on to this one and then this one. So follow along, hold me accountable. I will read these books this year. This is my year. This is my year to read. And it's really scary. Just imagine a world, well, you know, we see this with every generation, like, you know, you're getting older when you start saying things like, oh my goodness, back in my day, oh, these kids nowadays, like, that's how you know you're getting older. Like, you really, so every generation has that though, right? The previous generation would say, oh, back in my day, you had to make a phone call to actually reach someone. You had to, you know, go up to someone and really communicate. Nowadays, all you do is just send little text messages and be on those social media apps, right? So every generation has its own, oh, back in my day, you know, but just imagine for a second, imagine if we are saying, oh, well, back in my day, we actually used to read and write. We didn't just plug in the text into a machine and have the machine read it back to us out loud. Back in my day, you actually had to read and write. You know, that's so scary. If we are going to see a generation that does not know how to read and comprehend and critically think and form coherent thoughts to express themselves, like, I find myself struggling with that so much. Sometimes I'm thinking about something, I want to say something, and I'm just like, how can I say this? I can't really articulate what I'm feeling, what I want to say, my ideas. And that's one of the most powerful things that distinguishes us human beings from every other species, right? It's our thoughts, our reasoning. And it's very scary if we allow the upcoming generations to lose that art of critically think and read and write and expression. So I encourage you today to read more books, to challenge yourself. And personally, me, I cannot read fiction. I can't read dragons, vampires, and I don't know, I just can't do it. Like, I didn't even read Twilight. Like, I was in middle school when Twilight, the movie, came out, and I think then I was in elementary when the books came out, but I just can't read fiction. I've always had to read nonfiction. So, you know, challenge yourself, read what you can. And yeah, I don't even have kids yet, but if you have kids, encourage them to read. Definitely. And let's see what else. 1 second, am I still recording? Can you imagine if I'm not recording? Okay, I am. Whew, okay. So I also, something I don't understand. I know that Barnes and Nobles did open up more stores worldwide. They did open up more stores, and there is, of course, the rise of popularity in reading books because of, thankfully, book talk, TikTok, the book community. So see, that's something great from social media. So I don't know. I mean, I don't work with kids. I don't work in the school system, but I've heard so many stories, and yeah, and now with ChatGPT, it gets even more scary because it just no, just don't don't use it to help you or articulate your thoughts and write things down. And if you have an assignment, if you're in school, just do the research. Do your best to do the research and read and quote and paraphrase on your own. Yeah. Okay, let's see where I'm actually at with my Black History book. See where I'm actually at. Okay, see, I forgot where I was. Oh, I had my bookmark, but I forgot the context of what I was reading. Okay, yes, I remember now. So I'm at the part where I had never heard of this civil rights activist. I don't know if they taught about him in school. Maybe I was not paying attention. I don't know. I had never heard of him. So his name was Harry T. Moore, and the author describes him as the most important civil rights leader in Florida history. And he and his wife Harriet were killed by a bomb that was placed under their home in Mims, Florida, on Christmas night in 1951. So I'm right at the part where they kill him, and oh, this was his home. And so something I do is I annotate a lot when I read. When there's a word I don't understand, I make a note, and I like to make sure I define it. For example, it said, this time, Florida racists had taken a bite too big. After the Claude Neal lynching, the federal government was looking askance at race violence in the South. So, because I had no idea what askance meant, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's the attitude of suspicion or disapproval. And then I understood. Okay. And I am now by... Okay, so the conclusion with the murder of Harry, the civil rights activist, was the FBI found there was a widespread network of local officials, police, and militant whites operating throughout Central Florida to suppress the rights of blacks. The KKK was embedded within the local power structure in Central Florida. For example, Orange County Sheriff Dave Starr was a Klansman, having been inducted into the Klan at a secret ceremony in a funeral home in Winter Garden following his election in 1948. Winter Park City Manager Earl Harpole was a Klansman, as were Apopka Police Chief William Dunaway and Orange County Commissioner John Talton. Insane. So that's where I'm at. I have half left to go. I'm hoping to finish this by April. I'm giving myself grace because busy. Giving myself until April 1st. Come April 1st, I should be finished with this book.